Hello everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode. I know. So today's video is quite interesting. It's they're going to be spilling a lot of beans, a lot of stew. I know we are here for the stew. My name is Ogechi and this is Ogechi Reaction. If you are stopping by for the first time, kindly like this video, kindly share, and make sure you subscribe. Do you know why? So that you can always see notifications popping up. And if you're a returning subscriber or returning viewer that has not subscribed, why not? Kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and you know what, turn on your notification bell so that you can be notified anytime I drop a new video. This will help me a lot. Don't just watch and go. Subscription is free, okay? Please subscribe to my channel. And you know what? Today's video is from Spill Today. It's quite interesting. Iyanla Vanzant is from Spill Today. It's titled Iyanla Vanzant finally reveals why she left Oprah's TV show. Okay, she left. Okay, let's find out why. Let's find out why she left. Don't just leave. Don't just watch the video and go. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and drop your comments on what you think about this video. I'll be giving my comments during the course of this video, and after this video I'd love to know what you think about this video. You know what? Let's jump right straight in.
What happened? I was on Oprah's show, on the Oprah Winfrey show, doing Change Your Life TV, and then people saw me and other networks came after me.
That was Iyanla Vanzant talking about getting better job offers while she was on one of the biggest shows of her age. Suffice it to say, her boss didn't like that very much, even after Iyanla had chosen to go ask her about it.
And I went to her and said, this is what I'd like to do. I said, because other people were coming to me and asking me this. I hadn't even thought about it. And but the way they heard that.
Here's what they heard.
Like you trying to protect your deal over here and force her into a deal. Yes! I said, that won't even in my consciousness. How could you not know that you're saying those words to me?
And even though Iyanla was clear with her communication, here's how her boss saw the situation.
What I accept is that you knew what you were doing when you walked into that room and that you had the intention to force our hand.
They say fame is a two-way street, especially when you're one of the most successful people on that road. But that street has both its good and very ugly side. Over the years, we've been reminded of the good side of the one African-American woman who sits at the pinnacle of television. But more recently, we're starting to find out most of those tales were just padded truths. There have been people who only worked once with her that have said she's a monster, and there have also been full-blown media scandals that uphold that monster description. This time, it's someone who worked closely with her for years and was painted as the villain.
First thing, I feel like when you're working with people, especially when you're a big celebrity, right? I feel like you will be different things to different people. People will not see you the same way, and it is okay. All right. The most important thing is that you are. The most important thing is that you are yourself 24/7. Right. It is not your fault. People decide to see you a different way. Right. So I think Oprah Winfrey is a big. She has a big show, right? And a lot of people come and go, and I think it's okay if people decide to see her in a different light. You won't be the same person to everybody. Yeah, that's what I think. Let's just continue.
It's decades after now, and surprise, surprise, she was actually railroaded by this very diabolical host. As one of the most successful people in the world, most people have followed Winfrey's story since her early days as a presenter, and those who didn't follow it probably read about it. If you're in either of these categories, you may know who Iyanla Vanzant is, and if you're not, you may have heard her name in the news. Iyanla is a part of Winfrey's origin story that can never separated from the host. I mean, in the days before her show rose to be something different networks fought for, Iyanla was at her side presenting. You'd expect that for someone who played such an integral part in her story. Iyanla would at least get special treatment when she has professional troubles, but this was far from the case. Just like there have been non-stop stories about how the celebrity host is only a supporter of the success of fellow black women on paper, Iyanla was living proof of this. The woman who was already a best-selling author literally had to restart her life from scratch after Winfrey, who was already one of the most successful women in the game at the time, felt like Iyanla wanted to steal her shine. Now, from everything we've seen through the years, it's no longer a secret that this host doesn't like to be stood up to. But in Iyanla's case, she made an example of what happens when you stand against her. Iyanla's losses, engineered by the host, ran deeper than just losing her spot on one of the biggest shows. It ate deeply into her finances. As someone with experience hosting and a decent amount of notoriety, she was unable to land a spot on any show and failed at her own. It is also worth mentioning that all these things happened at a time when she had suffered losing some dear lives around her. To this day, there's not even one piece of evidence pointing to the fact that Winfrey had a hand in any of these. But on the flip side, the only thing that marked the beginning of her spiel happens to have the name of this host at the center. So tell me, is she really innocent of it all?
I mean, you're someone who had a difficult life, you ended up on welfare trying to raise a family, and then all of a sudden all these opportunities just hit you. And any other person probably would have just spent that money up and been...
One undeniable thing about Winfrey is that her show has been a launching board for several successful people in showbiz today. With names like Nate Burkesearl, Dr. Phil Earl, and Dr. Ozerl, the only thing they have in common is that they all became global sensations off of their propulsion from Winfrey's show. The so-called Oprah effect has proved to be incredibly powerful several times over. Endorsements, frequent show appearances, or better yet, a regular segment on the Media Titans show can be the golden ticket to a successful career. But while it made some and almost made others, it was also the downfall of many. And Iyanla Vanzant happens to be one of those people.
Weren't ready or something, like when you went to her?
They didn't think I was ready, but that was never communicated to me.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying, well, if they're asking for me, how come I can't do?
The story of Iyanla's life reads like a mini-series. She was born in the back of a taxi cab in Brooklyn with the name Rhonda Harris. Her mother passed away of cancer when she was only 2. Her absentee dad was a numbers runner, and her grandmother beat her so severely that it flayed the skin off her back. It just gets worse. Later, Vanzant became a teen mother and gave birth to 3 more children, each with different fathers. She married one of the fathers, but he attacked her too, and led to her almost trying to unalive herself. Worst of all, these things happened before she turned 25. She was on welfare, with only $5 in her pocket and her children on her mind, when she saw something that changed her life. I was sitting on the bus, and the sign said, "If you're ready to better your life, come to Medgar Evers College," and I got off the bus and went to Medgar Evers College, Vanzant said. This was her stepping stone into the show business. Iyanla's role as executive producer and host of the critically acclaimed, award-winning, unscripted series Iyanla Fix My Life became the #1 reality show on OWN Free Network. There, Iyanla goes behind closed doors and deep inside people's lives, where she applies spiritual principles to help people gain inner peace and healing by learning to do the work. Winfrey herself has called Iyanla the most powerful spiritual healer, fixer, teacher on the planet. However, this did not mean they were always on the same page, because not too long ago, the pair had a disagreement that lasted more than a decade. That's right, you heard correctly. Over 10 years.
Now, how could you not know that you're saying those words to me? Because I did lecture, workshop, class, public speak, don't know dit nor doodly about television.
One of the most high-profile phases of Vanzant's life was her falling out with Winfrey. She was a motivational speaker, gaining national prominence in 2000 when she began appearing regularly on her show. However, in 1999, Iyanla was approached with an offer by a television executive from another network and chose to accept it. Winfrey and Iyanla didn't talk for 11 years after that, but that's not the entire story. The thing is that right after Iyanla was approached by executives willing to give her a show of her own, she actually spoke to her team in Winfrey's organization, and when they turned her down, she left, and then pandemonium ensued. In the author's own words, okay, we had a conversation, and the first conversation was, do you want your own show now, or are you willing to wait? And I said, I'm willing to wait. Then after I got approached by so many people, Barwall wasn't the only producer. I said, wait a minute, hold up. Maybe there's something going on here I need to look at. So I went back to Harpo and said, are you willing to do my show now?
Being naive and stupid and asking, but it wasn't received well.
Right.
And that created a breakdown in communication.
Years have passed, and the two hosts have had a conversation only to realize their rift might have been caused by miscommunication. Talking about the situation, Iyanla said, I know that I said I would wait, but let me tell you why. And that's where I made my mistake, because I went into this long explanation about how everybody had approached me and I think I'm ready now and blah, 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 not knowing the nuance in the business that they received that as me trying to leverage a deal, and they were insulted and offered the invitation not to come back.
Because in the industry, when you go to somebody and say, you know, this network is offering me this, what are you going to offer me? But that's not what I was doing. I was just being naive and stupid and asking, but it wasn't received well.
Right.
And that created a breakdown in communication. But we were able to repair that. It took 11 years.
Did she tell you that you weren't ready or something, like when you went to her?
They didn't think I was ready, but that was never communicated to me.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying, well, if they're asking for me, how come I can't do it?
Then, after over a decade of not talking, Iyanla was called up by Winfrey to come on her show so that they could air out their differences. Now, this is messed up because everything happened behind closed doors, so wouldn't it only be appropriate that it gets sorted the same way? But no, the more famous one of them had other plans. She had Iyanla come on her show and manipulated the conversation until Iyanla had to repeatedly admit she made the mistakes. Iyanla explained on the show that she learned many lessons from her experience working with another network. It shook me to my core, she says. I was also hurt and guilty about the way I left here. Hurt that I didn't understand what I had done, and guilty because my story is, I always do the wrong thing. This insecurity led Iyanla to make assumptions that allegedly compounded the situation. When you said, bless you, go forward, that's not what I heard, Iyanla tells Winfrey. What I heard was, you did the wrong thing and you're being punished.
Not coming into that meeting to get us to make a decision for doing a show for you? Yes, but not with that connotation of do it now or I'm.
That wasn't the only show she even had to admit it. She also did on other major platforms. I violated some protocols in the industry because I just didn't know, Vanzant, who says she grew up in the hood, told The Breakfast Club. I didn't have a manager, I didn't have an agent. I was going up to talk to people like they was at the Key Food. And so, not understanding that about me and being in this industry, it was assumed that I was leveraging, which I wasn't. I didn't even know what that stuff was. I just asked for what I wanted. I was just being naive and stupid and asking. But it wasn't received well, Vanzant explained, and that created a breakdown in communication. But we were able to repair that. It took 11 years. They didn't think I was ready, but that was never communicated to me. So I'm saying, well, if they asking for me, why can't we do it here? But how we know she might have been forced to push the storyline that painted Winfrey in the best light is that she had told the story from a different perspective in a prior interview. On the Tell Me More show with host Michelle Martin, Iyanla said, well, here's what I think. I think that as an up-and-coming, as a protege, a certain level of loyalty is required of you, expected of you, and I didn't demonstrate that level of loyalty. And I think that would be true for O. I think, had I stayed, it would have been true for Barbara Walters. I mean, look at the big rift that happened when Star left The View. This implies that the reason Winfrey was so willing to cut her loose was because she believed Iyanla owed her loyalty, even at the expense of progressing her own career. But what completely sealed the deal in this interview was when she mentioned that she actually didn't have one conversation with Winfrey when all of these went down. She said, well, let me say this, and this is why what you heard in the clip when I said I didn't know it was about me. I never had a conversation with O, ever. People thought that we were best friends and we went to lunch all the time. I had never had a conversation with her. So all of this that translated happened between me and her lawyer, me and her EP, not between me and O. Tell me you see how Iyanla's story on her own is vastly different from what she said on Winfrey's show. Well, several fans noticed it, and they've been calling her out. One user's take was, "And whose fault is that? O is a buck-dancing coonie that decided to do what she did. Look at all the folks she put on. Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, Rachel Ray, Suze Orman, Nate Berkus, etc. What's the common denominator? Iyanla Vanzant is the only black person that she put on barely."
Okay.
That user does have a point, because out of the long list of people that she has put on, Iyanla seems to have been the only one who had problems moving on from the show, and what the fans are now saying is that the reason for that is that Iyanla happens to be a strong black woman, something many netizens seem to believe threatens Winfrey. Turns out there's some merit to that point of view, as there have been even more recent cases of Winfrey undermining black actresses. For starters, Monique, who's allegedly suffered a similar fate at the hands of Winfrey, recently empathized with Taraji P. Henson's complaints about experiencing pay inequality as a black woman in Hollywood. A while back, the actress and comedian appeared on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay, where she revealed that the two discussed it roughly 10 years ago.
20 plus years in the game, and I hear the same thing, and I see what you do for another production, and when it's time for us to go to bed, you don't have any money. They play in your face.
In response to Henson's tearful SiriusXM interview on being undervalued as a black actress, Monique called it painful to watch.
When I saw Taraji broken on those platforms, it was painful to watch.
As for what Taraji's actual story is, the actress recently let out her frustrations about the industry. "I've been getting paid and I've been fighting tooth and nail every project to get that same freaking quote. And it's a slap in the face when people go, 'Oh girl, you work all the time. You always working.' Well, goddammit, I have to." Henson shared her opinions at a recent SAG-AFTRA Foundation career retrospective, revealing that the salary dispute almost prevented her from playing the lead in The Color Purple.
Every time you achieve something really incredible, it's almost like the industry looks at it as a fluke. Like, that was like some one-time thing. So you negotiate and fight tooth and nail to get what you made the last time. Where's my raise? I haven't seen a raise in my income since Proud Mary.
"I'm really tired of black women having the same story," she stated. The fact that Henson selected The Color Purple marketing to discuss these matters in any event led viewers to believe that she was making a direct criticism of the movie's producers, specifically Winfrey. By my count, that's at least 3 people who have suffered almost the exact same fate simply because they wanted more for themselves and their boss. Winfrey did not. Once or twice could be a coincidence, but 3 times, that's definitely a pattern. Tell me what you think.
You guys, I think this video is deeper than Vanzant and Oprah Winfrey. This is quite deep. Now, people are saying that people strongly believe that Oprah is a bit edgy about powerful black women coming up. She believes that they believe that, oh, she's so powerful, she's one powerful black woman, and nobody should go beyond her, right? So people are thinking that because, not just Vanzant has experienced this, they mentioned other people like Monique, like Henson, other black people. But I also think if you look at this story critically, without comparing it to other patterns of other people, right? If you're comparing it, I think naturally when Oprah Winfrey has a very big popular show, she has a platform that has set a lot of people's career starting up, like Dr. Phil, right? I feel like, as Vanzant being the first black woman, according to the story, she expects some level of loyalty. I feel like everybody expects a level of loyalty. At some point, people were calling them best friends, and according to Vanzant, she said it was a kind of lack of communication. It was not communicated well. Yes, her career started when she met Oprah, right? Her career started. I think this is one of the problems when you're working with somebody and you're booming, you're blossoming, you're doing so well, and you want to leave. There is this, it's only natural. Let's not paint Oprah as a bad person, or like, oh, someone that doesn't want the other person to do well in the industry. I feel like it's just a natural thing, right? Where you expect so much loyalty, but I mean, people will have to look for more, right? This show does not belong to Vanzant. She has to look for her path. Her path started with Oprah, which everybody's path started with every other person. My path started with you. After some time, I'm going to grow, I'm going to become, and then I want to move on. So I think the misunderstanding started from when Vanzant wanted to move on. She got another job, a very, very good paying job, and then it was not communicated well, which broke down their relationship to 11 years. It took them 11 years for them to have to sit down and have this conversation. They didn't have the conversation behind closed doors. They had it on a show, and it was a bit messy. But I love the fact that she was able to admit that she was wrong, and Oprah manipulated her to say some things. And you know, the story, I think this story is quite deep. It's not just about it's not just about Vanzant. I think it's quite deep for other black women that have got to work with Oprah, because I mean, Oprah has a very large platform and she's so powerful, right? What do you guys think in the comment section? Let me know. There are so many things embedded in this story, but I'd love to know what you think about this video. Do well to click on the red subscribe button, like this video, and drop your comment. Do not forget, drop your comments. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.